G'day, and welcome to the Reading is Fundamental podcast.
The podcast where we talk about and break down legal issues in and related to the entertainment industry.
Why? Because we're attorneys.
And you're not.
Well, most likely you're not. This podcast was created with the goal of educating independent artists who want to make sense of the legal issues they face in their careers.
We welcome everyone, including attorneys, to listen in and learn more about topics in entertainment law. And if you are an entertainment attorney yourself, feel free to give us some feedback or say something in the comments.
I'm Stephan Francisco Ferris, a California licensed attorney who also happens to have over a decade of experience working in the adult entertainment industry as performer Blue Bailey.
I'm Jake Newsom. I'm also a California licensed attorney. During my free time, I strap on a wig and some heels to transform into Dextra, the drag vigilante.
I founded the law office of Stephan F. Ferris in San Francisco, where I provide legal counsel to a wide range of queer content creators like film producers, adult performers, podcast producers, and digital online platforms.
And I was a performer, conductor, and teacher prior to going to law school, but now I'm an in-house corporate attorney where I work with a team of lawyers who provide counsel to our company.
As entertainers ourselves, we know that dealing with legal issues can be a lot, and this takes you away from doing the creative work you really want to be doing. But no worries, we're here to break it down for you and give you the good tea on how to navigate the legal situations in your careers.
All of this will be done through the lens of our lives, our gayness, sex positivity, radical acceptance, and our love of Drag Race, which is why this podcast is named Reading is Fundamental, because you need to read your damn contracts.
In this episode, we're talking about Mickey Mouse, James Bond, Tarzan, Batman, Sherlock Holmes, and the copyright protections behind some of the most well-known characters.
But before we do that, we have a little legal disclaimer.
The information on this podcast is for general information purposes only. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. What's been going on? Is this our first episode that we've recorded?
This is our first episode that we recorded in a while.
2022, so all of our references will kind of be current.
No, we have the last one we recorded in 2022.
No. Well, our references may still be current.
We've been still doing our nightly or our weekly Drag Race viewings with our little group of people.
Yep. Spoiler alert, Angeria went home last week.
Angeria went home. We were all super, super sad.
Yep, Jasmine sent her home.
And it was like really, I think it was Snatch Game, right? And Jasmine won.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
She won both Snatch Games. You know, I love to like troll and fuck with Drag Race fans.
Yes,
so I posted that I heard that Jasmine was going to send home Willow, Angeria, and Bosco. And I posted it in a fan group that decided to be shady as fuck and only approve the post 3 days after the episode aired.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I started getting comments like yesterday about it.
And what were the comments?
Mostly just like, what are you smoking? The show aired on Friday.
You're like, oh, actually, it's an alternative universe that I'm like beaming in from.
The multiverse.
It's the multiverse that we're actually working from, and you don't even know what we're talking about.
But yeah, I did want to ask, or I did some research on because I was interested in Drag Race UK.
Yes.
Which we just saw Pangina the other week.
Oh my God, we saw Pangina in San Francisco. Thank God there was an earlier show.
Yeah, it was like the 30 plus show that started at 7 and ended at 9.
This is what we need. Please, if you're like club promoters out there or club bookers, please make drag shows better and make them at 7 p.m. instead of like starting at 10 and really means it starts at like 11:30 because there's a lot of old people like us who would really like to get to a drag show early and go to bed.
Yeah, or maybe not even go to bed, but maybe like be able to leave the drag show to be able to go down the street to Powerhouse and suck some dick before it closes. But anyways, Jake went with me to the first showing. I went to the second.
Wow.
But yeah, I was thinking on Drag Race, like UK, there's this like general thinking that the BBC cannot give out cash prizes. Have you heard of that?
Yes, that's why we have to have the repeater badges after every challenge win, and I think the grand prize for UK is just getting like flown out to LA to record a video or something, right?
I like how you say I think that's the prize. Like you don't know specifically what the prize was.
Okay, well the first 3 seasons of UK was like they're gonna fly them out to LA to do like a TV show with World of Wonder, which I've never seen any of them. I'm gonna be honest.
I've heard of the season 1. I haven't seen any of Lawrence's, but isn't Lawrence getting like their own documentary on WoW?
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
So yeah, I was looking it up, and it's not entirely accurate that the BBC prohibits cash prizes. There's actually like a few shows that air where there's nominal prizes allowed. But basically the BBC is like the Apple Plus of the UK, where you pay a license fee or a streaming fee to be able to watch BBC. And then those fees goes towards funding the shows, and the fees are not allowed to be given out in large amounts to contestants. But you still have shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that are able to offer smaller monetary prizes.
So it's like you subscribe to the BBC?
Yeah, I think the exact language is you pay a license fee. So
Okay. To license the content so you can watch it.
yeah. So like same as like a subscription fee, I would think.
Interesting. So they can have small amounts of prize money. So does the show have to be about gaining money, I guess?
I didn't see anything specified. Everything I saw was in relation to game shows. It wasn't He Wants to Be a Millionaire. It was The Weakest Link. Where
is that the one? I'm sorry, you are the weakest link.
yes, which I think Jane Lynch is doing the American
Work.
Yeah. So this was like a while ago, this article. In 2000, they increased they increased the prize money on The Weakest Link to £20,000, which the BBC's competitor, ITV, which also airs in the UK, doesn't have these restrictions. They're allowed to give out like $1 million cash prize or £1 million or whatever the fuck it is. So it seems a bit shady that Rue's not able to give out any money.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it was only like £20,000, it'd be like, and a grand prize of £20,000.
I mean, didn't Holland kind of do that?
I don't remember. Holland first season was like, you get a dress.
Yeah.
And it's worth 15,000 euros.
See, well, they're not even allowed to do that in the BBC because the BCC.
No, BBC.
It is BBC. The BBC is not allowed to have sponsorships. So this is why the girls aren't winning like makeup or sweethearts.
It's like, okay, you've won $1,000 gift certificate from Wigs and Grace, or like, well, now there's like sweethearts, like you said, and stuff everywhere, and like Bubbly is sponsoring the mini challenge, and
just a little kick of caffeine.
It's gotten so big that like Bubbly is doing it, and sweethearts, like Nestle, I think, owns them.
Yeah,
it's like big.
I just bought sweethearts because of it.
Really?
Not the ones I love sweethearts.
I don't like.
They basically like rebranded Sprees and have like super sour. It's good. You should try it.
I don't like candy that much.
Yeah, we're currently drinking sugar-free hot chocolate because Jake insisted on it.
I didn't insist on it. I asked if you wanted some, and you said absolutely.
I did. But this seems to be like the exact opposite from Canada, which is just sponsorship everything. What is it, like Drug Mart or something?
Oh my gosh.
And the Neutrogena like wipes that are like in every single shot.
Funny. Canada's Drag Race season 2 is like a cash prize provided by Shoppers Drug Mart. Which to me is like if you were to be like provided by Walgreens or like something.
I wonder one day since what's her name? Who's in CVS now? With the makeup?
Kim Chi.
Yeah, I wonder if like maybe she'll be like prize money or like makeup provided by Kim Chi.
Oh my god!
You've won a year's supply of what's her line? Look it up.
Kim Chi Chic.
Kim Chi Chic. Yes.
Yeah. Kim Chi or
fuck Anastasia Beverly Hills unless you want to be our sponsor.
Kim Chi's in CVS.
That's amazing.
This is like it's insane. I don't know if you didn't start watching Drag Race until like a couple years ago, right? 8, 6.
When did I meet you? 2015?
I don't remember. 2015.
Too year, right?
7 years?
I don't do math.
Okay. But I was watching when it came out in season 2. I like literally remember I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are on TV and I get to go watch them at the club. This was like season 2.
Yeah.
I went to go see Raven in Flagstaff. Like I saw Pandora Box.
You saw Raven when she was still white?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a lot. I went to go see like Raven and Shangela and who was it? Pandora Box. Like
Tatiana. Who else is
I
season
went to
2?
go see Tatiana, but like
Kylie Sonique.
Kylie Sonique was on the East Coast though, I think. So it's like she couldn't. It was mostly like the LA girls.
I see.
But like, this was like when it was still like a tiny little bar and they were performing for like 45 people, and it was like a big deal to go see like Raven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now
you're
bitch.
lucky if the crowd's 45 people.
Now there's yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Now it's sold out anytime Pangina.
Even the 7 p.m. show was sold
Even
out.
the 7 p.m. show was sold out. And these girls are doing like Work the World tours. It's like Vegas Live now. Kim Chi's in freaking CVS.
Yeah.
Bimini and Taste. And like all these girls are in like London Fashion Week.
Yeah, they're too busy to be on the All-Stars apparently.
They are.
But I was also wondering, like, so they could maybe give them a nominal prize. That's kind of up in the air. They're not allowed sponsorships, which I guess if you're not getting sponsorships to give prizes, that's an incentive not to give them.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering if like Blue could somehow make like royalties off of her
Right.
quote unquote duet with RuPaul.
Right, because her prize for UK versus the world was to get flown to LA and then do like a song with RuPaul. I already forgot what it was called, but I saw the lyric video. Like
It was like Champion. It was the Champion.
Right. But it was like Champion, and then it was like
4 recycled songs
Yes,
with 10
yes.
seconds of Blue thrown in.
and it was like basically just Blue peppered in.
Yep.
And then they're like, "Why'd you do it?" And she's like, "The devil made me do it."
Yeah, it was that bad.
Anyway, it was not a great song, and so now that nobody's listening to it, is she able to get royalties off of it?
So I couldn't find anything on that.
Okay.
What I did find is that when you appear on the show, they're basically able to film you doing whatever. They're able to come to your house and film shots.
Mhm.
You know what would be great?
What?
If like we had an episode that did like the season 15 contract.
Absolutely. You're talking about like Bussy Queen, but actual lawyers.
Actual lawyers. Why?
She did
Because
great.
we're attorneys.
And you're not. She actually did a really good job in that video last year, I thought, for somebody who's like, probably never parsed through some contracts before, but that sounds like a great idea. We should do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So if you have the Drag Race season 15 contract and want us to review it for you, please send it in at readingisfundamentalpodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is all interesting. I'm happy that you looked this up because it's like there's lots of rumors and we don't know how these things work, and it's interesting to see how different laws in different countries make the production of a similar show have to be different in some ways. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And at least this one was only 6 episodes and not 16, which
Yeah.
this new season is turning out to be.
Oh my God. I mean, I shouldn't complain. Everybody's complaining, but nobody needs to complain.
I'm not complaining.
More drag
I
is
love
more
it.
better.
I love it. Bring them all back at the finale and start over again.
We're actually starting season 15 now.
Yes. So enough about Drag Race for now.
Okay.
Tell us what we're talking about today.
We're talking about the copyright protection for characters. Now, this could be like literary characters or comic book characters, anything like that. Why are we talking about copyright protection for characters? Because it could be a large source of income for graphic artists or an author. But even if it's not your area of creative expression, there are still concepts central to copyright that will carry over and help to protect your work. Now, let me set up a situation for you. I was down at Palm Springs Pride a few months ago, being gay. There were some vendors there, and one of them was a person who makes their own LGBT-themed comic books. They write the stories, and they draw the images, and I think they even print them. Each of the characters has some essential characteristics, like their name, their physical appearance, character traits, superpowers, relationships. They each have like a past history. And it's a passion project for them, sure, but it would be great to make some money off of it. Suppose they get approached by a comic book publisher who wants to pick up the line of comics. At that point, who owns the copyright for the characters they created, and how can each of them use those characters? What if it really takes off and now Marvel wants to bring this new gay-ass superhero into the Marvel universe? It's important to understand the underlying concepts, so if you do encounter a situation like this, you have some idea of where to start.
So let's start at a very basic level of explaining what is copyright. A copyright is a type of intellectual property, IP for short, that protects original works of authorship as soon as the author fixes the work in a tangible form or expression. Once you gain copyright protection, which is the moment that the idea becomes fixated or manifests, you have the right to copy the work as many times as you want and get to decide who gets to copy your work as well. Registering your copyright with the United States Copyright Office helps to ensure that if someone does copy your work, you can bring them to court and make them stop and also have them pay damages. But it's not necessary to register. Copyright can cover paintings, photographs, illustrations, musical compositions, sound recordings, computer programs, books, poems, blogs, posts, movies, architectural works, plays, and many other creative works.
So the two main elements to determine whether something can have copyright protection is one, original authorship. That basically means that a human created it with some minimal degree of creativity. So we're not talking about a phone book. It has to be some kind of creative.
Well, okay. I'm going to interrupt you real quick and ask you a question. Does it have to be a human? I remember, wasn't there
It got decided because when we were in law school, they talked about
the monkey that took pictures.
Yes, because it was a zoo, and then
what happened?
It got decided, and it's not copyrightable.
Oh,
and
that's bullshit.
Yeah, and there's subsequent decisions that say like AI can't do it, so it's already become developing jurisprudence now.
Okay, so when we were in law school, we were learning about this case where they gave a monkey a camera and the monkey took selfies, and I guess at that time they thought that the monkey had the copyright, but I'm wrong because it's been how many years since law school?
I don't know. You don't do math.
I don't do math. It's one of the many things I don't do anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it has to be, and there's been subsequent jurisprudence, like I said, that's like, oh, it can't be AI, and it can't be like, there was another case of an octopus doing the same thing, where like you could pay to get the octopus to like go and like push the button to snap a photo.
What can you pay the octopus to do?
What did I say?
Snap a photo?
Yeah. No, you could pay, and then the octopus comes up and then like squibbles up the thing and like takes a photo, like it's trained to do it.
Oh.
But yeah, there's been like subsequent cases, so it has to be a human. So human has to create it with some minimal degree of creativity. And then the second large element is it has to be fixed in a tangible medium. And all that means is a work is fixed when it's captured in a sufficiently permanent medium so that it can be perceived, reproduced, or communicated for more than a short time.
What is a fixed medium? What do you mean by that?
It can be like
medium.
anything. So it could be like film, it could be binary code, it could be a drawing, it could be the case that we read that put this on the lower end, like for a short amount of time, was the ice sculptures. I don't know if you remember that. So you could copyright the ice sculpture, but it was mostly because you could take a photo of the ice sculpture.
So the photo would be copyrighted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like choreography, choreography can't itself obviously be copyrighted, but you record the copyright, and then that becomes the choreography becomes copyrighted through the video.
Say that 10 times.
I already forgot what I said. The person who creates the work is usually the author of the work, but that's not always the case. Other people can hold the copyright to a work if it's transferred to them, or companies can hold the copyright if the work is created by an employee. Those are called works made for hire. Now, there's a lot more that we can talk about with copyrights, like what rights you get with copyright registration, the length of the copyright, how copyrights are licensed, but this is the base knowledge that we can start with.
Yeah, and I'll add in here in works made for hire. So that means that if you're like a graphic designer for a company, or a makeup artist for a studio, or a costume designer, you most likely have in your employment agreement specifically saying that the works you create will be owned by the company that you're working for, and that's what turns them into a works made for hire.
I think it was in our exclusive porn performer agreement.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. To start off, let's get the question of whether a character can be copyrighted out of the way. Each character was created by the author and set down in a tangible medium, like a book or a comic book or a drawing of some sort, so we're good there. The central question is whether or not a character is sufficiently creative enough to be an original work, and that's kind of going back to the first prong that we were talking about, original authorship, a minimal degree of creativity.
So it's important to understand, much like obscenity, copyright has been established by a series of court cases. So the first case that we're going to discuss is Nichols versus United States. Nope. God damn it. So the first case we're going to discuss is Nichols versus Universal Studios, and this case established the well-delineated test. Jake, tell us what this is.
So I think this was the 1920s. There was a guy who made this character where there was a Jewish gentleman and an Irish Catholic girl that he loved. Judge Learned Hand. Do you remember Learned Hand?
I remember Judge Hand. I think I saw that porn.
Judge Learned Hand, who was of New York at the time, said it was not well delineated and poorly developed. He said that these two characters were just kind of prototype. And then he kind of set out a little test that said the less developed the character, the less copyrightability. So there can be something that could be awarded copyrightability if it's clearly delineated.
All right. Treat me like a dumb porn star for a minute. What does delineated
This
mean?
is a stretch. So what he's really getting at is that, you know, if you're just saying this is a Jewish gentleman and an Irish Catholic girl, it's not really well developed. So maybe delineated or developed can be substituted for developed.
Developed. Okay. So is this, if I'm understanding right, is this basically saying that you can't copyright stereotypes?
Prototypes is what he called them. I would say what he was getting at in today's like verbiage is an archetype. You know what I mean?
Archetype. Okay.
So it's like, you know, the hot dog salesman or I shouldn't say hot, like something even more simple, like the car salesman. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
you mean salesperson?
And, you know, they're going to be in a suit. They're going to be, you know, traditionally very like aggressive or something like that. It's like there's a particular type of archetype. You can't copyright that because it's not well developed enough, well delineated from other characters.
Okay, it's too broad.
Yeah. But even though there was no way to copyright those, you know, undelineated characters, when the test was applied later in two federal circuit court cases, they found that copyright ability could extend to Tarzan and Superman. This is a great story. I don't think we learned this in law school, or this specific case about Superman, but there were two competing comic book publishers. One had, quote, Superman, and the other one had, quote, Wonder Man. I'm laughing. I'm like, wow, you really did a great job there. So, like, they each had to conceal their strength under ordinary clothing, and then each of them removes their coat to reveal a skin-tight acrobatic suit.
Come on, reveal.
Wonder Man was red. Well, we know that, you know...
Fisting.
Well, we know that Superman was blue, right?
What?
I'm colorblind.
Superman's the bottom.
So Wonder Man was red, and both were shown running towards a full moon, quote, off into the night in their separate comic books. They crashed guns with their hand. Each was shot by three men.
Shot with what?
Oh, good call. They were both, or one leaped over a 20-story building and the other leaped from a building to a building. They both ripped open a steel door, and they were both called the strongest man in the world. Each of them was battling evil and injustice. I mean, basically, it's plagiarism at this point. Like, yeah. Wonder Man is the knockoff version of Superman.
Yeah.
Basically.
So what did the court say?
So, interestingly enough, the people representing Wonder Man tried to argue that the attributes of Superman are found in like traditional heroes of literature and mythology like Hercules. There's going to be a strong man, he's battling evil, all that kind of stuff.
So is it kind of bringing it back to that delineated character or the archetype? Like Wonder Man's an archetype, Superman's an archetype.
Exactly. They're trying to like bring it back into like, oh, this has been found in history. We're both grabbing from the same source material. But they didn't win. Like, you know, Superman was well delineated in and of itself. It had a lot of characteristics, and this person was obviously copying it.
All right, so later courts would round out this rule and set out a more defined test. The first part of the test is that the character must possess physical and conceptual attributes. The second part of the test is that the character must be sufficiently delineated to be identified as the same character across multiple occasions. So the traits must be consistent. It means that every time you see this character, there must be enough consistent traits for you to identify who this character is. And last, the character must be especially distinctive and contain some unique elements of expression. The consistency of a character's traits and attributes are considered to be the key factors of whether the character qualifies for copyright protection. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did I make you watch The Boys yet?
The Boys. Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. So I think this is a great example. So
Of Wonder Man versus Superman.
yeah. So Wonder Man lost out in courts like years ago.
Yeah, this is like 1930.
Yeah. How is it that the boys can have a character called the Homelander that basically exhibits the same exact characteristics as Superman?
Okay, well, run me through Homelander. Well, first of all, my initial impressions to defend their use of Homelander is, one, he's more like American. Two, he's unlike Superman in the fact that he's actually the villain
Okay.
of the season. You know what I mean? Like, Superman's always the hero, and Homelander's like this maniacal, awful person. But what other attributes does Homelander have? So he has like super strength,
Can fly, red lasers from the eyes.
red laser eyes.
Um,
What color is his hair?
blonde.
And then here's another. So it's blonde when Superman is black.
Yeah.
And a very important thing about Superman is that he does a reveal, and Homelander does not do a reveal. Homelander's like
Yeah, that's
Homelander
true.
all the time.
So the reveal is part of Superman's intrinsic like characteristic.
Yes.
That's the part that you see from like episode to episode.
Yes, and I would say that fits into this like third little prong. That's like he's especially distinctive and contains unique elements of expression. And it's the like Superman's well known for like he reveals and he works at the Daily Bugle and he has these like eyeglasses and he has a little swoopy thing in his hair and you know like that. Like,
So do you think it's just that the characters are different enough, or do you think like parody comes into play at all?
that was going to be my second argument. Is like obviously I feel like the whole show is like dark camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's obviously made to make fun of superheroes. You know, we've had so many superhero movies in the last couple like years, and then it's obviously made to be like, hey, we're poking fun at this and like turning it on its head and making it, you know, something you didn't expect. So I think it separates itself enough. I think we can't say like I think a superhero alone would be an archetype where it's like that's too generic. It's not well delineated enough. And
What do you mean?
Just like a superhero, like somebody who has special powers and helps people.
Okay. What if those powers are specific though?
But then it's like as each character gets specific powers, you know what I mean? Then it starts becoming more delineated. But it's like, what's the difference between the Flash and what's the other one from the other? Who's the fast one in the Marvel?
And Marvel? Oh my god. It's Wanda's brother. I forget his name.
Quicksilver?
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver.
That's it. Yeah.
But like there's parallels in the DC and Marvel universes, you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's like a stretchy person, there's like, you know, it's like things like that. And like even with The Incredibles, it's like there was like the mom was stretchy. So it's like stretchiness alone is not a delineating characteristic.
Got you.
You know what I mean? She's stretchy and she's a mom. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Okay. All right. So what's our next test, Jake?
So there's two tests. The first one we talked about was the well-delineated test, and the second test comes from Warner Brothers v. Columbia Broadcast Systems. So this is a Ninth Circuit case, and it basically said that a character can get copyright protection if it, quote, constitutes the story being told.
What does that even mean?
The Ninth Circuit or the story being told?
Both.
So the Ninth Circuit is a federal circuit district in the United
Oh,
States.
girl, I know what that is. I was kidding.
Oh, well, we're explaining to Kim.
They obviously know what they know. They know what it is.
They know what the Ninth Circuit
Kim
is?
knows, yeah.
Kim
Kim went to law school, remember? Kim K? Hello.
Kim K did not go to law school.
She did? I thought she did.
No, she's doing the apprenticeship thing.
She's on The Apprentice?
No, girl. Oh my God, get on it. The apprenticeship route in California, where you can apprentice for a lawyer for like 4 years. You take the baby bar, and then after a few years, then you can go take the real bar.
Oh,
You didn't know this?
I kind of knew about it. I didn't really follow it, because like us, we had to take the hard bar.
She will eventually have to take the hard bar.
The 2-day bar, not like the hard bar that the others.
The harder bar.
Not the hard.
She will eventually have to take the hard bar.
Well, okay. I'm sure Kim K knows what the Ninth Circuit is, but if she doesn't, why don't you tell us what it means?
Oh, now you want me to explain it?
Yes.
So Ninth Circuit is a federal district court. There's a district court, a circuit court, which is the appellate court, and then the Supreme Court, which is the top one. The circuit courts, every state has at least one. Some have as many as 4, like California and Texas, and I think Florida like have 3 or 4 separate circuit courts. So you can have like the Northern District of California or the Central District of California. Each of these roll into the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit covers, I forget, like California, Nevada, Arizona, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, Alaska.
Sure.
So it's like that. So when the Ninth Circuit decided, it's the law for those 8 or 9 states, whatever they were.
Gotcha. All right. So what did the Ninth Circuit tell us?
So this was a case about Sam Spade of the Maltese Falcon detective novels. It was held that it was a mere vehicle for carrying the story forward. It doesn't allow for copyright protection if the character is a mere chessman in the game of storytelling.
What does that even mean?
This test is a little bit like when the other test was getting at least, more refined, this one is just like, is it central to the story? Are they the main character? Basically.
Yeah, I don't like that because there's a lot of like non-main characters that are copyrightable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
like Hannibal Lecter only appears in Silence of the Lambs 10 minutes?
Does
and
he?
he got let's look it up.
I didn't even know that. But it was later applied to give copyrightability to E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which I think warrants copyright protection, and I feel like it is really central to the story.
Yeah. Okay, so Hannibal Lecter is only on screen for 24 minutes in a basically 2-hour film. So even though he's not a main character, it seems like with this test he wouldn't be copyrightable.
So here's another thing to consider is it doesn't matter if he's on screen time because they're probably talking about him throughout the film.
Gotcha, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they're probably be like Hannibal this, Hannibal that, whatever.
So the story still revolves
The story
around
being
him.
told. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because it's like a character doesn't have to be, it could be written down in a book. You know what I mean? It could be in a comic book. It could be in a movie, whatever it is. But even though he's not on screen, they're probably still talking about his characteristics in other scenes. They'll be like, oh, I heard Hannibal did this, or Hannibal is like this person, or Hannibal did that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So they're still developing the character even though he's not on screen.
So why are there 2 different tests? It seems like these tests are a little bit in conflict.
They can be. But like we were talking about with explaining the circuits, there might be a second circuit decision that comes down on this copyright issue, and then a Ninth Circuit decision that comes down on this issue, and they could be different or conflicting. And if it's a Second Circuit decision and they're deciding on something, they can reference the Ninth Circuit, but it's not precedent for them. So they don't have to abide by whatever the Ninth Circuit says. They can make their own decision on it.
So each circuit is kind of like its own little kingdom. So the Ninth Circuit has domain over a certain territory. The Second Circuit has domain over its territory. And whatever they say is law within their kingdom, and they could reference each other, but they're not necessarily bound by what the other kingdom has to say.
Exactly.
All right.
And so sometimes courts will apply both tests because they can. Like, why not? So there's been a few cases that have applied both of these tests, the story being told test and the well delineated test. Both in 1989 and 1995, the Central District of California found that the character Rocky, played by Sylvester Stallone, is copyrightable because the character from the movie franchise came to be known for certain physical traits and mannerisms, which made an well-delineated character. And on top of that, they found that he also constituted the story being told.
Then later, the courts awarded James Bond copyright protection because it was both sufficiently I can't say this fucking word. Both sufficiently delineated and was central to the story being told.
Do you remember this case?
Yeah. So I'm a huge James Bond fan, and it's really interesting how copyright and lawsuits have prevented certain movies from being made and certain actors from playing James Bond.
Mm-hmm. So in this one, Honda made a commercial, and importantly, the car had a convertible roof. And it was a fast-paced scene, and there was this menacing villain in a helicopter chase, and there was this suave guy and this attractive heroine driving in a car.
Heroin.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Detox, right?
Detox Season 5. Just given those facts alone, Is that James Bond to you as a James Bond fan?
I don't know. It sounds a little bit like Jason Bourne to me.
Ooh. So the court in this case said, quote, plaintiffs point to various character traits that are specific to Bond, i.e., his cold-bloodedness, his overt sexuality, his love of martinis shaken, not stirred, his marksmanship, his license to kill and use of guns, his physical strength, his sophistication, some of which plaintiffs claim appear in the Honda commercials Hero.
So wait, so was that enough for this like knockoff James Bond to be considered James Bond in the commercial?
No, this is saying that these are the reasons why James Bond is well delineated.
Okay. Now I'm curious. Like James Bond has evolved over the years and gets played differently by different actors. So, like, for example, like Daniel Craig doesn't always have his martini shaken, not stirred. Sometimes he has it's a callback to like the book's recipe, which is like a Vesper martini, which is a completely different concoction. So, like, how would you handle it if a character's trait like we're in an age of reboots and requels, so like what happens when something a trait gets turned on itself?
That's interesting because they one of the reasons that they said it was well delineated is because the character traits remain consistent despite the fact that there's different actors and it's different over the years. I remember it being shaken not stirred last time I saw it. So I'll have to go back and see if it was.
So that was the last one, and that was
Okay.
I think it was I could be wrong, but it was one of the few times that Daniel Craig actually says shaken,
Wow.
not stirred.
Okay.
He starts the first couple movies off like giving the bartender like a list of ingredients, which makes a Vesper martini, which is actually one of the characters.
Is the
Vesper.
recipe included shaken?
No, I don't think so.
Because if the recipe had called for a shaken, or wait, is it stirred? Yeah, shaken, not stirred. Then that might be it. So yeah, I mean, that was what the defendants tried to say. It's like, hey, there's been lots of actors, and there's been different movies and stuff. It can't be one character. But the court disagreed. They said James Bond has certain character traits that have been developed over time throughout these 16 films, and the fact that so many characters can play Bond is a testament to the fact that Bond is a unique character whose specific qualities remain consistent despite the change in actor. Well, I think that's good for now. Why don't we take a break?
Reading is fundamental. Reading.
All right, so we're back. This episode, we've been talking about copyright, and in particular, copyrighted characters. So we talked about the well-delineated test and the story being told test. So just because these two tests exist doesn't mean that every character will get copyright protection. There's a fine line that needs to be navigated. For example, stock characters aren't going to be included. What's a stock character? The charlatan, the town baker, the evil stepmom, the bimbo, the pass-around party bottom.
Getting a little too close for you here.
Yeah, so I'm not copyrightable, is what I'm saying.
You're not well delineated.
Excuse me, I've been well delineated before. I can get double delineated, thank you very much. And it's fixed in a tangible medium. But I did want to talk about this concept in copyright called savoir-faire. Remember?
Yes, Santa Fair.
Savoir-faire. I took French for high school
What,
pronunciation.
So you
police
took
person.
French. How do you pronounce it?
Girl, it's been a minute, but I'm going to go with savoir-faire.
Go for it. So what is Santa Fair?
Okay, so savoir-faire is basically another way to say stock characters that are used to just basically fill out a scene. Like I remember the word fair, what son is scene with a fancy pronunciation, and fair is to make. So it's basically savoir-faire is to make the scene. So characters that are there to just make the scene as opposed to making the story are not copyrightable.
Oh, okay.
So for gamers out there, it's like the NPCs, which stands for non-player characters, where nothing is really unique about any of these characters. There's many times in stories where you'll see a character in one season that's just like some side random character, but then the show will go back and like give that character their entire backstory. So like in the first episode that they appear, like, are they just part of the scene? Like, are they a copyrightable character at that point?
they can become a copyrightable character over time.
over time. So yeah, so say they become like well delineated in like 4 seasons later. Does that circle back to their first appearance?
I think it's the entire work taken together.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like I'm thinking about like people on The Office. Like Angela was not a regular cast member until the 2nd season, or like Shameless. Mickey was kind of just like a side character, and by the end of the whole series, he was centered to the whole story. You know what I mean?
And then that copyright protection would go back to his first appearance.
See, that's I think where we'd get into like a legal argument. It's like you would have to argue when it became well delineated.
Sure. So
You know what I mean?
okay. So like if
Because
they had like
then that would be, I think, the fixed point.
Okay, so we talk about non-delineated or NPCs or just kind of like characters that are setting the scene. We're talking about like the chorus people, the country folk, city people, background people, pretty much all the just extras that are in the background of a scene.
Yep. So where is that line? How much is considered delineated enough? It's definitely hard to determine, and the case law around it is not clear. There was a case about Sherlock Holmes that looked at the entire book series to piece together its characteristics and was granted copyright protection. So should literary characters and graphic characters be held to the same standard? Like, it's probably easier to define and delineate a visual graphic character. We know what Superman looks like because of the spandex suit and the dark hair and the spit curl, but everyone would have a different image of a famous literary character until they're portrayed on film. You know, we don't know what Harry Potter looks like until we see what Harry Potter looks like, but we can still understand the characteristics of Harry Potter. He has the circle glasses and the lightning bolt and the dark hair, and he's an orphan, those types of things. Should their image even matter if we know all these things about Harry Potter to begin with?
Did I ever tell you my idea for a sequel to Misery?
Misery is the Stephen King book / movie where Mr. Paul...
Yeah, it's
Okay.
what Bag of Chips just did the Snatch Game of.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would love for the sequel to Misery to be someone kidnaps J.K. Rowling and just basically tortures them until they stop being a horrible person.
Miss Rowling. Miss Rowling.
Could you imagine? I mean, I kind of just want to see J.K. Rowling hobbled, but like maybe that would do the trick.
I love your books, Miss Rowling. So what about other things that are instantly recognizable? There was a federal court in New York that found Freddy Krueger's glove could be protected on its own. They figured that where a component part of a character protected by copyright helps to identify that particular character, it itself can be copyrightable.
Okay, so this could be like if it's Freddy Krueger's glove, it's got to be like Michael Myers' mask. It's got to be like
Yes.
Ghostface mask.
Yes.
The Hellraiser like puzzle cubes got to be copyrighted.
Yes, these are all good examples, I think. You are
Tell-
smart.
Tell us what happened 10 years ago in a lawsuit brought by DC Comics.
So about 10 years ago, in a lawsuit brought by DC Comics, the defendants tried to argue that the Batmobile was not protectable because it was a useful item. It was a car. The court disagreed. They said that the Batmobile was copyrightable because it had a series of readily identifiable and distinguishing traits. There are lots of bat-like motifs, like a bat-faced grille, bat-shaped tail fins, and it's almost always black. Additionally, the identifiable creative elements of the Batmobile exist separate from the utilitarian aspects of the car. Basically, they're saying it's not the wheels and the engine that make up the Batmobile, it's the jet black color and the bat wings.
Reading is fundamental.
Now, I have a lot of opinions about this, so I look forward to discussing this with you during our little after segment, but what do you have for entertainment news today?
All right. So as of today, no, actually as of one day ago, which was going to be several weeks ago before by the
This gets
time
posted.
you, the listener, listens to this, Amanda Bynes' conservatorship was terminated after nearly 9 years.
Oh, didn't even know that Amanda Bynes had
What?
a conservatorship. No,
Yes.
I didn't know this.
That was like step 1 was free Britney. Step 2
Was Free Amanda Bynes?
Free Amanda Bynes.
I literally did not even
And step 3 is put Kanye West under conservatorship.
It's like take 2 out, put 1 in.
Yeah, it was actually like, you know, I love my memes. There was a meme that was like, Why isn't Kanye West in a conservatorship? I guess
For
this is
real?
only for women. Yeah. But I mean, fair point. Like,
Gas, because that's like, wow, that's too real.
yeah, like these male celebrities are able to like act crazy.
Okay, so she was in a conservative service that just ended after 9 years.
Yeah. A judge put an end to the 35-year-old actress's 9-year adult guardianship on Tuesday, March 22nd. The decision comes after the star's mother, Lynn Byrne, submitted a declaration of support for Amanda's request to terminate her conservatorship earlier this month, according to documents obtained by Us Weekly. So she was placed under a temporary conservatorship in August of 2013 after some mental health and substance abuse issues. And I guess she's been under conservatorship ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're right. You know, I only really heard that Amanda Bynes was under conservatorship like right after Britney was
Wow.
released. Where there were like a couple of people on social media that's like, oh, Amanda's under one too.
That gets me like so emotional.
Yeah, I mean, they should like go on a tour together.
Oh my god.
Talk show.
Write a book.
Yeah.
Start a book tour.
I need Britney to do another Pepsi commercial.
Oh my god, that would be epic.
Epic.
People at Pepsi, you need to be listening to this podcast because here's your next great marketing idea.
Yeah, bring
Bring-
Britney back.
Bring Britney back.
So what do you think about that? What do you think of conservatorships? I know they're not necessarily
Oh my
entertainment
gosh.
law related, but they are like prevalent in the entertainment sphere.
They boggle my mind. Like, I don't even know why they could exist.
So
I
I think-
mean, I get it's for like mostly like old people.
Yeah,
you know
they're
what I
mostly
mean?
meant for old people.
But it's like,
People that are over like 35.
I think, and then I could see how it's like, I could see how it's like, okay, somebody has a particular illness where they can't take care of themselves. Yeah, that's general enough. Like, it could be somebody like who's bound to a wheelchair, can't leave the home, or like somebody who's like mentally unwell. Like, so somebody who can't like take care of themselves. I get that, but it's like it seemed like these two people got entered into this conservatorship like with very low clearance. Like, they had like one episode, and it was like, oh, that's it. Like, you're under lock and key.
I don't know. They both were acting like, I feel like they had multiple episodes. We have Amanda's like now iconic "Murder My Vagina." I think those were tweets to Drake.
So, I mean, I guess then, like, what's the threshold to get into conservatorship? Like, what is the judge going to look for?
I don't know, but I think you're right that conservatorships are meant for older people. I think they're meant for like end of life care, where the law is written where someone takes over with the intention that the person is going to be dying soon, or that the conservatorship will serve its purpose. I don't think the law contemplates like a phase out period or like a process for that.
So it's like it can start, but there's no way to end it, or there's no explicit way to get out of it.
Right. Well, I mean, there's obviously ways to end it because just Amanda and Britney ended theirs.
Yeah.
But I think because the law is drafted the way it is, it makes it a lot more difficult.
Interesting.
Because I just think it was things that people didn't think of.
Yeah. They either needed to say like, okay, it's meant for X amount of years, or it needs to be like until the person is stable again, if they're still alive or something.
Yeah, and like maybe not even have like, sure, in Amanda's case, like her mom wrote the affidavit in support, but like at least from what we've seen in Britney's case, like her family was keeping her there.
Yeah.
So maybe building in like additional safeguards.
Like, it needs to be objective.
Yeah, an objective, like an objective attorney, an objective mental health care professional.
But they can't even hire the healthcare professional without the money from the conservator.
Right. So maybe there should be, and maybe there already is, but like maybe there's court-appointed check-ins.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was our moment. Entertainment news. Amanda Bynes is free. Yay!
Yay, Amanda!
Let's
Go live
jump
your
in.
life. Oh.
Excuse me, I'm speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reclaiming my time.
Let's
Don't come at me, Kamala Harris. I am not the Mike Pence in this relationship.
I take dick like Mike Pence. All right, so let's get into our analysis and maybe some practical tips. So why don't you start us off, Jake, since you're the more well-researched. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Not we. What did the court get right?
So okay, going back to the James Bond case, this was like the Honda guy, and you kind of said what I agree with, which is the kind of sounds like Jason Bourne or like some other kind of character. I think that they got it wrong in two parts. One, well, I should say they got one part right and one part wrong. One, I think they thought correctly that the character itself should be copyrightable. Like, I think James Bond is sufficiently delineated and the story being told. I think that's good. But I think they decided wrong on the case itself. I think that saying that the commercial was infringement was wrong. I think it was a parody. I think it was quite obvious that they were like doing something to evoke, you know, like a suave person,
Yeah.
but not particularly James Bond. I think they could have done a lot more if they wanted to be James Bond. There are more iconic things about James Bond than the fact that he drives a car with a woman in it and somebody's chasing with a helicopter. Like, that's basically every action scene now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I'd have to hear the person speak. He'd have to say, like, a catchphrase. He'd have to be British.
Yeah.
There'd have to be, like, the Walter PPK. It would have to be... I mean, James Bond doesn't drive a Honda. So I would...
That's obviously a parody.
Yeah, like I would need more for it to rise to copyright protection, but I think that you're right that even if it did, it was parodying it, and that would grant it protection.
Yeah, I don't think it was infringement. I think it was copyrighted, but I don't think it was copyright infringement.
All right, so we're gonna move from Hondas back to the Batmobile. You seem to have a lot of feelings about this.
I have a lot of feelings. So I think the copyright of cars and gloves and things like that are just too separate from the characters. I don't know if each one of them can have it, and it needs to be like really recognizable.
Okay, I have something. I have an example. The first thing that comes up to me is Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Either the rose
Yeah. See.
encased in the glass, or even the mirror. Like, would that specific mirror that has those properties of being able to like view other people, would that be? You know what I mean?
But that reminds me of freaking Snow White.
Oh, no,
See,
yeah.
I think I don't know. I mean, it can be, I guess. Like, honestly, your examples of like the Scream mask and what was the other one? The Jason mask or whatever?
Yeah, the like Hellraiser puzzle box.
Yes, those to me are more worthy of copyright protection than something like the Batmobile.
I disagree.
Because like the Batmobile is like, so they're just like basically saying like, if I take an Oldsmobile and like slap bat wings on it, then it's the Batmobile?
Yeah.
What?
And well, I don't know. See, I think the Batmobile is a little difficult because I think it goes to the point of being consistent. I think that the Batmobile has appeared in like since its inception in so many different varying forms that like I think the Batmobiles that are consistent that you see in multiple uses, like Chris Nolan's the like Tumblr Batmobile, that by itself should be copyrighted, but it shouldn't be copyrighted for all the Batmobiles, if that makes sense.
See, I could agree with that, but then it's like, then we're just conflating things. Like, then is this a Batmobile then? You know what I mean? Like the Christopher Nolan one I do like is probably my favorite Batmobile, but it's like a Cybertruck. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a car, and it's like not, it doesn't, I don't even think it has bats anywhere on it. It's just like kind of black. You're going to look it up.
No, I know what it looks like. I'm trying to look up older ones because
I looked up a whole list of them.
I know you
through
hate
the
the
years.
one.
One of them was a horse, bitch. At some point,
Yeah.
it was like a Japanese Batman Ninja crossover, and it was a horse.
Okay, so this is like the Adam West one, and I'm showing this to Jake. But this kind of gives me like the Robert Pattinson vibes a little bit. It's like a muscle car. Yeah, his is a lot more souped up, but I mean, it's kind of the same idea.
I don't even see bat things on there. I think the Scream is more iconic. It is consistent.
Yeah.
Those things I can get behind.
Yeah.
But like this Batmobile, the fact that it really does change so often, you know what I mean, is like, it's less worthy of copyrightability for me.
I agree. Well, I mean, I think it's less worthy of copyright as its own specific character. Like, because James Bond is the same character, different movie to different movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, you just get different Batmobiles. Like, Batmobile 2022 is its own character, and Batmobile 1993 is its own character, and Batmobile 1970. Like, check out this one. This one meets none. The Batmobile of 1970 isn't even black.
Oh yeah, so that was one of the things, is that it said it's almost always black. I'm like, you're sharing an inconsistency
Yeah.
right in there. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like almost always. It's like, well, why not? Is it an indisputable fact, or you know what I mean? I mean, this is an interesting question, and this is why a lot of these cases come with trademark claims as well, because it's like, it has to be recognizable, right? And so it's like, understanding and association is a big part of trademark law. So it's like, do you associate this vehicle with the Batman?
I think they have enough characteristics that repeat, like the fins or just kind of the sleekness of the car or the color, that when you add just a handful of those characteristics with the copyright or with the trademarked bat symbol, it like coalesces into like a feeling. Like, no, it's like
it evokes a moment.
It does. Like the logo brings it together with the other characteristics, and it's kind of like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. How often has the Freddy glove changed?
Not too much. I mean,
How much has the Jason mask changed?
The Jason mask has changed a couple times.
Yes.
Actually,
But it's very consistent, right?
No.
This is my favorite. I love arguing about nothing.
So
okay, I'm looking up images.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I think it's pretty consistent. Honestly.
The masks, they're
yes.
consistent.
More consistent than a Batmobile, for sure. There's two eyes. There's like the holes. They're in pretty much.
There's two eyes. It's a pretty low bar, Jake.
But they're like both the same shape. You know what I mean? They're all like this very circle shape. There's all these little like punctuations. They're pretty much in the same pattern. Almost all of them have these triangle. I said almost. Like I was
almost always. It's all variations of the same hockey mask. So yeah, you're right. I think it is a whole lot more consistent.
So why is this important for you? Here's some tips for creators. If you're an author, screenwriter, cartoonist, understanding this will help you to think about the roles of each character and make sure to protect your creations in the future.
Yeah, it's always a good part if you're developing characters to, even if they're side characters, think about how they could be used in the future and to delineate them and kind of think about their background, think about their appearance, and kind of make them as fleshed out as possible to get the most protection.
You should be aware that there are separate copyrightable things, so you could try to contract for that and maintain the right to the copyrighted subject as well as the whole work of art. There could be a situation where the studio or the publisher has a copyright to the entire work, but you can retain the copyright to the character itself. And now you can look around the world and see a Monsters Inc. backpack or an Encanto cereal or Pokemon things. I would like to read the contract that transferred copyrights to the Star Wars franchise to Disney, because that's way more than just characters and merchandise. There's literally a whole theme park, about the Star Wars world. So it's it literally wasn't like, oh, you own the license to Boba Fett and Yoda and whatever. It's like you own the license to this Star Wars world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I would love to see that. If you have that contract, please send it into Reading is Fundamental podcast at gmail.com.
Well, that's all we have for this episode. I love talking about this with you. Thank you so much for listening.
Let us know what you'd like to hear. You can write into us at readingisfundamentalpodcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Spaces at Reading is Fundamental and at stephenferrislaw.com/readingisfundamental.
Make sure to follow your favorite gay attorneys at Blue Bailey XXX and at Darkly Dreaming Dextra on Instagram.
And check out Reading is Fundamental on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Buzzsprout.
And read your damn contracts.
Because reading is what?
Necessary to understanding the terms, conditions, expectations, and obligations of your entertainment contract.
Reading is fundamental. Reading is fundamental. Reading is fundamental.
What's it gonna be? 'Cause I can't pretend. No.
What's it gonna be? More than friends. Can we-
Hole is tight and
Reading is fundamental. Reading is fundamental.